Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Maddie. Thanks for being here today. As you can tell from the title, we are doing another TBR game. So I brought out the Blinko board. I told you that it would be back. I kept my promise. However, the prompts are a little bit different this time because I'm participating in Old School November. No, Old School April. Please, I do not want to go all the way to November. I need the summer so desperately. Old School April is basically a readathon, watchathon, activity-a-thon that Kelsey from Slime and Slashers puts on. I'll link obviously her video down below. And it just seems like a very flexible, approachable readathon. Like it's very low pressure. You can watch things if you don't feel like reading. There's activities you can do. I honestly forget which team I'm on. I think I'm on the Purple Parrots. I'm pretty sure I'm on the Purple Parrots. Yes. I'm on Team Purple Parrots. It's my first time participating in this readathon. I'm very excited because I have been feeling very nostalgic lately. I started Degrassi over from the beginning. I'm already midway through season 4. I'm probably only going to watch till like season 8 because then it starts to, like, I start to age out of it in the sense that I didn't watch past that when I was younger. So I don't have the same nostalgia vibes, but it's been absolutely amazing. Such a good time. If you have not watched Degrassi, I highly recommend. So I've been very much dipping into that already. So I'm really excited for this readathon because although I'm probably not going to be reading anything nostalgic, I'm going to be doing as many nostalgic activities as I can because I'm really looking for comfort this April. So I changed up the prompts in the Blinko board, like the prompts I usually put, the cards that I usually put in the board. I changed them up to be the prompts of the readathon. So without further ado, let's get into the first prompt. So the first prompt is Teen Witch, read a book with magical elements or witches or cursed objects. And this one, I'm going to go with a fantasy book. I'm reading the Fae Isles trilogy right now. I talked about it in my February wrap up, and I'm also going to be talking about it in my March wrap up. I've been trying not to binge this series. Every time I finish one book, I want to read the next one like right after. And I stopped myself after the second book because I'm like, I'm going to get a hangover from this. So there is a novella that you can read any point, but I'm going to read it after the second book. So I've already read the second book and I'm going to pick this prompt for the novella. The book's called Heart of Silken Shadows, and I think it's a like side story. That's why it's like you can read it at any point because I think it talks about the main character Emmeline's parents and their storyline. So I'm not that interested, honestly, in their storyline, but I really like the writing of this author and I really like the world that she has built. So honestly, I will read anything to do with this sort of series. So that is going to be my first pick. Let's find out what my next prompt's going to be. The next prompt is Time Warp. Read a book set in the 80s or 90s or a nostalgic vibe. So for this one, I'm going to pick a book that I've had on my shelves for a while. I have heard no one talk about this, and I don't know if it's because it's a Canadian author, like not that well-known Canadian author, or what. But that's a lie. I've heard one person talk about it and give it glowing, glowing praise. So the book is Red X by David Demchuk. This one I'm picking because it is set through the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, and 2010s. So it takes you from the 80s to the 2010s. So it kind of fits that prompt. This isn't that nostalgic. And it's also a very heartbreaking story, I will imagine, because it is about a man talking about the experiences of queer people, and I think specifically gay men, in Toronto through the AIDS crisis and onward, and how that affected the community. This book, from my understanding, is part autobiography and then part fiction. So I think the author is telling their story with horror elements, because obviously the things that the queer community went through and continues to go through is horrific. So the bridge between reality and horror is not that small. But I am really looking forward to this one. Let me read you the inside a little bit, because I really have not heard anyone talk about this. Men are disappearing from Toronto's gay village. They're the marginalized, the vulnerable. One by one, stalked and vanished, they leave behind small circles of baffled, frightened friends. Against the shifting backdrop of homophobia through the decades, from the HIV/AIDS crisis and riots against raids to gentrification and police brutality, the survivors face inaction from the law and disinterest from society at large. But as the missing grow in numbers, those left behind begin to realize that whoever or whatever is taking these men has been doing so for longer than is humanly possible. So I think it's a like monster story. Like there's supernatural elements possibly in this. But I think it is like based in reality. So I'm really looking forward to this. This is absolutely a 5-star prediction for me. So that is my pick for the second prompt. Let's find out what the next prompt is going to be. So the third prompt is Willow read a fantasy book, and I'm realizing now I already picked a fantasy book for the magical elements. So I could switch that novella to this prompt and pick something else for the magical elements, but I don't really have anything in mind. So I think what I might do, since that's a novella, is allow myself to continue in the series, the same series, and read book 3, because book 4, the final book, question mark, I'm pretty sure it's the final book, is coming out this year. I think it's coming out in April. I will not read it in April, but I would like to be caught up so that I can read the 4th book eventually when it comes out. So I think I'm going to pick Ruins of Sea and Souls for this prompt. Like I mentioned before, the novella focuses on the main character's parents. And so this one, you're focusing back on the main character. Without spoiling anything, there was like an epic battle, let's say, at the end of the 2nd book. So we're seeing what the aftermath of that is in the 3rd book, I'm assuming. So that's what I'm going to read. And although I said I'm not going to devour this series, 4 books in 4 months is not that bad. That's pretty good. Okay? Technically, I read 1 a month, but it was like the end of the month when I finished one and the beginning of the month when I started the 2nd one. So I've had a little bit of a break, and now I'm ready to dive back in. So justifying it that way. Let's find out what the next prompt's going to be. The next prompt is 16 Candles. Read a book with a number in the title. And you guys are going to kill me because I have put this book on multiple TBRs. Not just one TBR and then I'm putting it back on. I have put this book on multiple TBRs. I've talked about it in multiple videos, and I've said that I'm going to read this book probably every single month for the past like year. So this month I'm actually going to do it, okay? Because if I say I'm going to read this book again this month and I don't read it, then clearly I just don't want to read it. But I do. I know I want to read it. I know that I do. I've just been really wanting to get the audio for it at the same time because I've heard the audio is really good. So hopefully I can time it up well this month. But it's episode 13. I know I've mentioned this so many times. I know, but I really need to get to it. So this is me holding myself accountable. I am absolutely going to read it this month if it kills me. This is like number one priority aside from like book club picks. So if you haven't heard of this book, you clearly haven't watched any of my other TBRs because I've featured it almost on every single one. It's essentially a haunted house story with reality TV elements. So they're a ghost tracking sort of television show. I think it's a husband and wife, and they go to this haunted place to investigate. And yeah, I say the same thing every TBR. There's so many elements in this book that I'm excited about. I was just about to say I don't know why I've been putting it off, but I truly think this is why I've been putting it off because it's freaking huge. But then I'll sit here and read like 500, 400 page fantasy books. How long actually is this? It's like 450 pages. Like, come on, Maddie. That's not that long. Okay, so my intuition told me that my mic died, and then I looked down and the little dot disappeared. So thank you, intuition. I checked where it ended up dying. It was like right at the end of me talking about episode 13. So I did not get that far. Love me for that. Anyways, all I was going to say before my bike died was that I'm hoping that I can get my hands on the audiobook this month because I've heard really good things about it and I would like to read them in tandem. So I'm so glad that I didn't get very far with my mic dying because I don't have to refilm literally anything. Nothing. Anyways, we are on the last prompt, so let's find out what the last prompt is going to be. So the last prompt is mini-me / short circuit. Read a short story or novella. And I have a couple that I would like to read. 2 of them were actually birthday gifts from Mary, and another one was from like a contest thingy I won. And all 3 of these are very short, and I'm very intrigued by all of them. So I might get to all 3 of them, honestly. So the first one is Dirty Heads. I haven't heard anything about this. I haven't seen it anywhere. I think it's an indie author. I'm pretty sure all of these are indie authors, to be honest. So this one says, the story of a boy who dreamed of becoming a man, but dreamed up a monster instead. You're on the run, marked. Don't think about the kid you used to be when you're homeless and dumpster diving in the rain. Just eat whatever you find to keep your engine full. Because the shadow with too many teeth wants you tired. You're easier to catch when you're tired. It has hunted you since the summer of 1994. Back when we confessed who we were through the mixtapes. When every movie at the video store had dirty heads. You were 13 and thought you knew who you were. Only the shadow with too many teeth knew you better. It still does, and it won't stop. Not until you come home, back to where it all began. It says it's part cosmic horror, part coming of age story. I love cosmic horror. So although the back of the book blurb sounds not great writing for me so far, just a little bit disjointed, but I'm not going to judge the whole book based on the blurb on the back. But the fact that it's cosmic horror really pulls me back in. Also, this cover is freaking gorgeous. So I'm really excited for this one. I think it's like 130 pages. So I'll probably be picking this one up. The next one, let me just throw it on the ground. The next one is called Inside Out. Again, look at that freaking cover. Like, are you kidding me? So weird and gross. I love it. This one says, an over-the-top tribute to the goopy, grimy, and gross horror of the 1980s. Ooh, I could have picked this one for the 90s or 80s. So doubling up on that prompt. That's cool. After a mysterious infection spreads through the world, people and animals start melting into horrific monsters. This wild debut novella follows everyday people dealing with the new chaotic reality, from school children to scummy landlords to mad scientists. The back also says barf bag not included. So is it gross? Like, oh, there's pictures in here too. Let me show you. Oh, that's weird. Oh, you can't really see. Hold on. Let's see if I can do it with one hand. There we go. Weird. Very gross. Oh, that's going to be fun. Definitely creepy cover. And then the last one is called The Vessel, but I'll let you know what it says on the back. Struggling with money, raising a child alone, and fleeing a volatile ex, Jess McMatchin accepts a job caring for an elderly patient, Flo Gardner, a disturbed, shut-in, and invalid. But if Jess can hold down this job, she and her daughter Izzy can begin a new life. Flo's vast home, Nerthus House, may resemble a stately vicarage in an idyllic village, but the labyrinth interior is a dark, cluttered warren filled with pagan artifacts. And Nerthus House lives in the shadow of a malevolent secret, a sinister enigma determined to reveal itself to Jess and to drive her to the end of her tether. Not only is she stricken by the manipulation of the vicarage's bleak past, but Flo is soon casting a baleful influence over young Izzy. What appeared to be a routine job soon becomes a battle for Jess's sanity and the control of her child. It's as if an ancient ritual was triggered when Jess crossed the threshold of the vicarage, a rite leading her and Izzy to a terrifying critical mass where all will be lost or saved. Interesting. It sounds like this creepy old lady is taking her child away or like manipulating her child. Also, I just skip over some words in the back of this book, truthfully, because I do not know how to pronounce them. So I'm thinking this writing might be a little bit tough for me, my little pea brain, but we're going to give it a shot. And I'm just going to look up the words that I don't know and how to pronounce them. Maybe I'll learn some things. So The Vessel is another short story that I'm planning on reading this month. The last book that I'm going to read that I don't have a prompt for, I like to only pull 5 prompts because I usually read like 6 to 8 books a month, maybe sometimes 9. And I want to leave some flexibility if I want to read some graphic novels or something comes up, or like reading somebody else's book a click or something like that. So I only like to pick 5 prompts, but I am going to be reading The Watchers as well. It is part of my 12 for 12. I don't have a prompt for it. I was hoping that I would pull a prompt for it, but I couldn't really fit it into any of the prompts that I picked, which is fine. So I'm just going to tack this on to the end of my TBR. The back says, the forest isn't charted on any map. Dark on the brightest days, knotted branches hide its ancestor secrets from the sun. This is no place to linger, especially after dark. Mina is taking the country roads to Connemara, an ever-narrowing maze across frost-pocketed moor and bog. As the light fades on a leafless December day, her car stutters and the engine dies. Outside, from an unexpected tree line, a scream. No, worse, an otherworldly shriek. Mina knows better than to get out of the car, but of course she will. The synopsis on Goodreads goes into a little bit more detail about how the main character is told by this screaming person, I think, to run into this cabin or something, and then the watchers like watch them from the cabin. So it seems really creepy. I also think it's being made into a movie if the movie's not already out yet. But I'll definitely be reading it before I'm checking out the movie. So I'm also going to be reading The Watchers, and I'll also be reading one other book that has not been decided yet. It'll be our book club pick for the month of April. I always film my April TBRs before we pick the book, so I never end up actually telling you about our book club pick. But if you'd like to join, we read horror books on Fable, so the link is always in the description of all of my videos. We would love to have you if you want to join. But this month, we're either going to be reading between In the Miso Soup, Night's Edge, or The Hunger. So I'll be reading one of those 3. 2 of those 3 are my picks. 1 is Mary's pick. Feel free to guess in the comments whose is whose, but I'm hoping for 2 out of the 3. Although if Mary's pick wins, I'm totally fine with that because I have been wanting to read that book as well. So any of those winning is perfectly fine with me. So tack an extra book onto this TBR. Unsure which one it's going to be. So I think that's everything. Those are all of the books that I'm planning to read for Old School April. For the activity prompts for Old School April, I'm probably going to just continue watching Degrassi. That has been going really well. I'll maybe do some like coloring, maybe some crafting. We'll see. I'm keeping it open. Maybe I'll play some like nostalgic games, like board games. Maybe we'll play some Clue or something. So I'm going to wrap this video up before my second backup mic dies. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you being here as always. If you like this video and you'd like to support my channel, feel free to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out. If you would like to see more videos from me, be sure to subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you next week for another video. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.